Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we discuss all things politics and culture, and today we are discussing modern dating and all the issues with it. But a few things to note before we get into that, guys. I did make a TikTok, so make sure you follow me there. I linked it in the description down below. I post a lot of my YouTube content, but I also post a lot of random tidbits and just like lifestyle content, so make sure you're keeping up with me over there. And if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and leave any thoughts, opinions, critiques, or even video ideas in the comment section down below. And with all of that out of the way, let's get into it. All right, so today we're going to talk about how wokeism and the left and feminism have really just destroyed the modern day dating playing field and environment. There's a lot of issues that I see going on that need to be discussed, and I have a lot of thoughts and some unsolicited advice. So I'm sure you're wondering, what credentials do I have to be criticizing the way people are dating these days? Well, I have definitely seen the good, bad, and the ugly when it comes to dating. My last relationship of 7 years ended because my ex went to prison. So there's that. But my current relationship, I've been dating him for about 2 years, and should we get married today if we could? But you know, money is a thing. So I take pride in the fact that I'm a pretty balanced human being. My life experience has really ranged from here to here a lot, and I feel like I have a good perspective on these things. So I don't really care what my credentials are. You don't need credentials to see how whack some of this stuff is, okay? So I have here in my notebook all of my critiques on what I am seeing going on in the modern dating playing field, and we're going to talk about them. I am going to give a heads up that I'm probably going to go pretty hard on the ladies, to be honest, because I don't know if it's just because I'm a female that like I'm more sensitive to female behavior, or if it's just their fault, because let's be honest, women kind of suck at dating these days. When you look at a lot of the statistics that are out there about dating and marriage and even like mental health and happiness levels, they kind of suck, to be honest. You know, most marriages end in divorce. The younger generation is more depressed and mentally ill than they've ever been in history. Not to suggest that that's all due to our dating habits, but I think it plays a large part in it, because we all know that companionship really plays a big role in people's overall happiness. And I think the biggest issue plaguing modern dating is just the oversexualization that is happening in our culture right now. The left and feminism has done a tremendous job at convincing females that, you know, being sexually liberated is the ultimate empowerment. And I think anyone living in reality knows that that could not be further from the truth, but it's just pushed so much by the left that it's become so normalized and accepted that we can't ignore it anymore. And we can't ignore, in my opinion, the detrimental effects that it's having on young women, young men, and how people are dating nowadays. You can't open a social media app these days without coming across some girl who's half naked, right? It doesn't matter what platform you're on, you're bound to run into it. And this is one of the biggest things that is causing a ton of issues for young people in their relationships. For men, it's just so in their face that they can't even ignore it if they want to. And because of that, it's become so just normalized that they don't know any different. And to some degree, I think that's setting unrealistic expectations of women. But on the other hand, it's causing a lot of issues for women, because what young women see when they see all of these girls who are, you know, in bikini pictures or posting in lingerie is men that are primarily interacting with these posts. So they think that, oh, well, if I want male attention or I want a boyfriend or whatever, that's what they have to do to get that. And that's just sad for a number of reasons, because it's not necessarily true, right? And because it's bad for your psyche as a female to A, constantly be comparing yourself to things like that, and B, post that kind of content. It's also causing a dissonance in relationships because men are so used to it and it's so in their face that, you know, when they're scrolling their Instagram feed, they're liking some of these photos, maybe while they're even in a relationship. And as the girl in that relationship, that doesn't feel good, right? And it makes you think that you have to be more like those kinds of girls to maybe get your boyfriend to stop doing that kind of stuff. when that's not even the case, right? And here's the irony in it all. It's one thing to post a photo of you and your friends, like just at the beach hanging out, right? It's like once in a while. It's a total other thing when you go to the beach in a thong bikini, literally just to take a photo to post on Instagram. Or, you know, your whole feed is you in lingerie. Totally different thing, right? And to be quite frank, that's hoe behavior, okay? And here's the thing. Men don't actually want to like be with those kinds of girls. They're kind of just there for instant gratification, but they would never want to marry that type of girl, as messed up as that sounds, but it's just the truth, okay? So you have these unrealistic expectations for young girls that this is what they need to do to find a good man, right? But then here's the other thing, and a lot of you aren't gonna like this, but you know what? It's the truth, so someone has to say it. There's really only 4 types of girls, okay? You have ugly girls, but I don't really like to call anyone ugly, so let's just throw that category out of the window for a second. You have cute girls, you have girls who are pretty or beautiful, and you have hot girls, okay? And a lot of the times we see girls who are maybe cute or pretty wanting to be a hot girl because that's what they see men interacting with. Don't do that, okay? Just don't do that. It's really cringe because we all know what you're doing and you'll never be a hot girl, and that's okay. It's fine, okay? Just don't do that because it's super cringe. And it's never going to happen. Just embrace who you are and what you were born as. And to be honest, if you were born as a pretty girl or a cute girl, you're probably better off because that's the type of girl that a man is going to want to marry anyways. I think in general, ladies, have some more respect for yourself. I think a girl who does have respect for herself is much more attractive to a man than someone who's just willing to put it all out there on the internet for anyone to see at any time. And while I wish that the Instagram thoughts were the worst of it, they're not. Because as we all know, OnlyFans exists. It's really quite crazy to see how accepted this OnlyFans lifestyle has become in society. And I think we can all agree that that's kind of thanks to the wokeism thing too, because they're so obsessed with pushing abnormal things to be normal when they're not, for good reason, that it's just consuming young women. You know, we always hear about these girls on OnlyFans that are killing it and making a ton of money. But what we don't always see is that the vast majority of girls who are on OnlyFans aren't really making much money at all. And it's just sad because you have girls who are willing to just totally degrade themselves for no real money at all. And it's all just kind of like, for what? I promise you that even posting sexy pictures on Instagram too, like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for you that you're willing to just disrespect yourself in front of a bunch of people. It's embarrassing for your future partner. It's embarrassing for your family. Just don't do it. I promise you. In the future, you are going to regret it. Whether you do OnlyFans or, you know, you post whatever anywhere else, you're going to regret it. There's going to come a time where you might be a mother, and there are so many stories of former OnlyFans stars or porn stars coming out and talking about how they totally regret it. Black China recently came out and talked about how she just stopped her OnlyFans and she was making a ton of money, dissolved all her fillers because she found God. Trisha Paytas recently had a child and posted a video about how she regretted doing all of that. I promise you, there's going to come a time where all of that disrespect to yourself is going to add up and hit you in the face and you're going to regret it. Especially because a lot of these girls end up alone because a lot of guys don't want to be with girls who are either ran through or just willing to show the most intimate parts of themselves to anyone who's willing to look or sometimes pay. And not to mention, the OnlyFans issue becomes much worse too, because maybe you aren't participating in it at all as a girl, right? Like you would never type of thing. Well, a lot of times men are still consuming it. PORN is one thing, but OnlyFans is a whole other thing because it's personal, right? You're literally paying money to specific creators that you pick out to see them, you know, naked and doing sexual things. And a lot of times talking to them personally. That is cheating. If you were in a relationship and you're doing that, that is straight up cheating, okay? You should be spending all of your time, money, and sexual energy only towards your partner. And this can create unrealistic expectations of the girl in the relationship as well, because, you know, most girls aren't down to do a lot of the things that these OnlyFans stars are, right? And that's totally fair and within their right. And you know, when it comes to the left's whole sexual liberation empowerment thing, well, I think it can be empowering to explore your sexuality and discover your sexual liberation within the confines of your relationship. That's where it ends. You don't just do that with anybody who's willing to do it with you, okay? That's not gonna help you. That's only gonna make it worse. But I truly don't know how a lot of these OnlyFans girls can go to sleep at night knowing that they're probably the reason that some couple broke up. This whole push from the left that sex work is just like any other job, it's gotta stop. It's creating so many problems within relationships these days. And I think more girls need to take personal responsibility for the part that they play in this too. Because yes, while the man does have some responsibility in the fact that he is consuming this kind of content, he likely wouldn't do that if it didn't exist. So ladies, take into consideration that when you post this sexual kind of content on the internet, it's not just affecting you negatively. You have no idea how many people this could be affecting negatively. And then we have the whole polyamory aspect, right? Things have gotten so crazy in this upside down world that we're just supposed to accept that polyamory is natural. Every time someone says that polyamory makes sense because it's more natural to our biology, all I can think about is like, okay, then why was marriage the standard that we naturally gravitated towards for thousands of years before like now? There's always exceptions to the rule, but generally polyamory can't work. Someone's always going to get hurt. And honestly, I feel like polyamory is just an excuse for you to be a piece of shit. If you can't keep your pants on, then don't be in a relationship, okay? It's really not that hard. All of this is not normal. And the left keeps trying to make us believe that it is. And as a result, people are miserable. Their relationships are falling apart. Divorces are happening because they keep being influenced by all these crazy things that didn't exist before. You can't deny it. For most of time, this sexual part of ourselves as human beings was kept between two people. And it's really only not been until these last, 40, 50 years that things have really started to take a drastic shift. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that people are unhappy as ever. And the left and the Democrats, they're happy for this oversexualization agenda to keep happening because it destroys the nuclear family. And we all know that the nuclear family is the biggest threat to the establishment. So this works great for them. But it's a shame, and I think a lot of young people are in denial about a lot of this, and I think that they're in denial about how important a healthy relationship is to the human experience. Okay, and then we have to talk about what I call toxic femininity. What is toxic femininity, you ask? Well, it's another thing that the left has accomplished in destroying relationships. Toxic femininity is this idea within women that kind of stems from the liberal foundation that we can't hurt anyone's feelings, right? We can't hurt anyone's feelings in a world that has always been and always will be offensive, right? It's this idea that as a female, you're perfect just the way you are. You shouldn't have to change a thing. You should be loved, adored, and worshipped just the way you are. And you shouldn't have to contribute anything back. I see this all the time on the internet. It's girls thinking that they should be able to just show up in a relationship exactly the way they are and be absolutely adored and simped for and not have to give anything in return, which is really just insane when you think about it. But honestly, I really just find it to be a huge cope for when girls get dumped that, oh, well, he didn't deserve you anyway. Well, I don't know about that, you know? A relationship goes two ways and both parties need to contribute to it. Personal development is necessary in a relationship because it's only fair. You can't just expect to show up into a relationship as a totally average mess with no therapy in your back pocket and expect to be loved and adored, right? That's ridiculous. But that's what toxic femininity preaches. I'm just gonna be so real for a second. You're probably not a 10. You probably have a super average job and you're probably not that interesting. And yet you expect the ground that you walked on to be kissed and cherished and worshipped. That's insane. There is no real man on planet Earth that is going to do that. You have to bring something to the table too. If you want to be simped for as an average girl, then you're just going to end up with a liberal soy boy. And that's never going to last, right? Because a man can only take so much emasculation before they can't take it anymore. But that's the world we live in right now. You can't expect a 10 out of 10 man when you're not a 10 out of 10 woman. That's just not fair. And to be completely real, you probably played a huge part in every breakup that you've had. Let me tell you something, ladies. If a man really loves you, he will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that you know you are loved, respected, adored, and protected. He will make sure you know. So if you find yourself constantly needing reassurance and affirmation and attention from your boyfriend, it's probably your fault because you're probably not doing enough. Because if you were, you would feel those things, okay? Your man would make sure that you knew you were appreciated and loved and all of that. Ladies, if you want a good man, you got to bring something to the table too, okay? If you're one of those girls who's constantly asking for like reassurance and all of that, you're annoying. I don't know what to tell you. You're just annoying. Like, don't be obsessive. Don't be annoying. When you come into a relationship, your main personality trait can't just be your boyfriend. You have to have your own interests too, your own goals. You have to have your own thing going on. Being obsessed with your boyfriend and that's the only thing that you have going on, it's not attractive to men, okay? Just being real. In fact, this goes for both parties. You should never enter a relationship unless you are operating at 100%. You should have a very clear vision of what you want for your future. You should have your goals defined. You should be actively working toward accomplishing those goals. You should be taking care of yourself physically and mentally. And you should be ready to show up into that relationship, giving 100% to your 50% of the relationship. Well, what does that look like? Well, it looks like bringing something to the table. It looks like providing some value to your relationship and not just expecting your boyfriend to do it all for you, okay? And not just expecting your partner to carry all the weight. What you bring to the table as a female can look like a lot of different things. Maybe you're just one of those girls who's just down to ride and you're like super loyal and very supportive. You always show up for your man. You back him up no matter what. You're always supporting him. Whatever he's trying to build, you're right there behind him, helping him. You have no idea how much being supportive means to a man. You really don't. And that's very valuable to some men. Maybe you are killing it at your career and you're making, good money. That's attractive to men because it shows that you're driven and that you guys can build something together. Maybe you're very maternal. Maybe you just want to be a mom and raise kids and you have that maternal instinct. There's a lot of men who just want a good partner to raise a family with. Doesn't matter. You got to bring something to the table because let's be honest, you're probably pretty average. Most of us are. And you got to figure out something else to bring. I always hear from females that there's no more good men left. Yes, there are. You're probably just with some stupid liberal soy boy who doesn't know how to take charge of anything. He's probably scared to even touch you because he doesn't want to get canceled and called out on the internet for something that he didn't even know he did. If you want to find a real man, he's probably going to be a conservative. I'm just being real. That's not a bad thing in my opinion, but liberals don't have a lot of morals or values or any kind of foundation to build upon. So it's going to be really hard to find a lifelong relationship with someone who is a modern liberal. I think a lot of what's going on with people too in the dating world is they're dating out of boredom or loneliness, and that's a huge problem. Never enter a relationship out of a place of desperation or boredom or loneliness because it will not last. If you're just entering a relationship because you're desperate for companionship, it's not going to work. You need to take a step back and work on yourself before you even think about getting into a relationship if that's where your head's at. You should only ever date to marry. There's no reason to date otherwise. If you just need someone to hang out with, then I don't know, get some friends or go on Tinder because there's literally no reason to date someone unless you go into that with the intention of actually making it into something real. The main thing is that relationships take a lot of work. Both sides have to be committed to doing whatever it takes to make sure that this relationship lasts. And people have just gotten so entitled and lazy nowadays that they don't want to do that. When you get into a relationship with someone that you think could actually go the distance, never stop dating your partner. It's not going to be as easy as it was in the honeymoon phase to do the things that it takes to make your partner feel special, but you have to do it. And if you really love them, you should want to do it. Whether that's going on dates or surprise gifts or surprises in general, whatever it is, you have to continue to do that. And that's something that needs to happen from both people. I just think this generation is not dating to marry. They don't want to put in the work. They just want a roommate with benefits. But that's not gonna last. It's just not. You have to be willing to put in the time and the effort to build something sustainable. And lastly, again, the left has done a great job at destroying gender roles, but they're important. Okay. It doesn't mean that you have to be the literal housewife, always cooking and cleaning while, you know, your boyfriend or husband goes to work. It doesn't have to necessarily be that. Okay. No one's saying that, but it is okay to lean into those gender roles. Most men want a feminine woman. Being a feminine woman doesn't mean like, you know, throwing on a ton of makeup and wearing summer dresses. It just means that, like, you know, you are feminine. I think when a woman feels respected, protected, and loved in a relationship, she naturally kind of goes into that female housemaker role anyways. But point being is relationships are all about compromise. And men and women just naturally tend to gravitate towards certain roles in relationships because that's just what we're biologically, you know, trained to do. And that's okay. I like that my man takes charge of things. I like that he's a go-getter. I like that he wants to take care of things for me. But, you know, I'm more traditional. Like, I don't mind cooking. I'm not the best cook, but I don't mind doing it. We're just trying to get the job done, right? I don't mind cleaning. But here's the thing. My boyfriend has never made me feel like I have to do any of those things. I just like doing them for him because he does things for me. All I'm trying to say is if you really want to be in a relationship that lasts and you want to be in a marriage that works out, you're probably going to end up embracing gender roles, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly normal. Don't let the left disillusion you into thinking that it's not. Because a lot of these relationships where gender roles are just totally thrown out the window, they don't make it. And it's really no wonder why. What are some of the issues that you guys see in the modern dating playing field? I think it's easy for me to see certain behaviors in women because I am a woman, but I'd love to hear, like, from a man's perspective, are there things that men do that you notice that you think is just lunacy? I don't know. What are some of the issues that you guys see happening in the modern dating world? And be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in another video soon. Peace.